safety thing first. Gentlemen, ladies, please don't play with the guns today. We don't need a reason. Everybody clear on that?
Yep.
All right, thank you. Now, I'm assuming that most of the people here know the Pledge of Allegiance.
Absolutely.
Anybody not know it? I'll get you a copy. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Key word, folks, for all. Now, gentleman here looks way better dressed than I am today. Justin Dillon.
Justin!
Thank you guys for coming out. I really appreciate it. As you know, unfortunately, we are in a battle with the city because they have an ordinance that says that there's no firearms in the park. Well, I have mine. I see some of you have yours. Perry Square is about as friendly as it gets right now. There's some people here that don't believe so, but you know, I will hold to what the state and federal laws are. You know, if the city wants to try to enforce an illegal ordinance, so well, that's what the court is. Well, the judges are for. If you're not aware now, that we are already taking this to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has heard it and has accepted it. We will know more about this later next week. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the injunction because of time constraints. So they want Erie to write a brief and give it to them before next Friday. So we are hoping and praying on that. And if you guys can also do some praying and crossing your fingers, whatever you do or believe in, and you know, help support me, that would be appreciated. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I have some great speakers to introduce. First, most off, I am going to introduce my attorney, Joshua Prince. I would really like you guys to give a big hand to him since he worked extremely hard this week.
Woo!
Thanks, Justin. How's everyone doing today?
Good.
All right. I just want to reiterate the fact that obviously the law enforcement officers that are here today have been told to do what they're about to do. That is their decision. It has come from their higher-ups. Please comply with their requirements. I've already informed them that you are all represented and that they are to contact me with any questions that they may have for you. As Justin alluded to, we have litigated this case. On Thursday, we were before President Judge DeSantis requesting a preliminary injunction. That injunction was denied. Within 20 minutes of Judge DeSantis entering that order, the notice of appeal had been docketed and filed with the prothonotary, appealing to the Commonwealth Court. Within approximately 30 minutes of the order being issued, Judge DeSantis had been served with a copy of the notice of appeal. The Commonwealth Court immediately responded, scheduling an oral argument for the next morning at 10:30 in the morning. President Judge Pellegrini from the Commonwealth Court presided over that hearing and decided that there was no abuse of discretion in Judge DeSantis' order. Now, Judge DeSantis' order really does not address the primary case in chief of Ortiz versus Commonwealth, which was a decision from the Pennsylvania Supreme Court that specifically said municipalities may not regulate in any manner the possession of firearms, ammunition, as well as other things. So, upon learning that President Judge Pellegrini had denied our emergency petition, I immediately contacted the Pennsylvania Supreme Court and filed our emergency petition with them. Approximately 4:50 yesterday afternoon, I was contacted by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court that an order had just been issued to the city to respond to that motion by Friday, either responding via answer or letter stating that they would not file an answer. Clearly, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court is interested in this matter, and the fact that neither the trial court here nor the Commonwealth Court seemed concerned with its prior binding precedent stating that no municipality may regulate the possession and carrying of firearms. So we will await what the Pennsylvania Supreme Court intends to do with this case. The case is not over because it was only a preliminary injunction and that's all that was appealed. The actual case in chief is still outstanding for declaratory relief and a permanent injunction. Of course, nothing will proceed until the Pennsylvania Supreme Court decides the preliminary injunction appeal. This is a lot of talk to explain that there's a lot of problems in our society. We no longer take the time to learn who we're voting for. Judges come up for retention every 10 years. To my knowledge, there's only been one judge in the history of the Commonwealth that has not been retained. And the reason that that Supreme Court justice was not retained was that was a year where the issue arose as to whether the judiciary was entitled to an increase in their pay. And the people were outraged. And unfortunate for that justice, he was up for retention and the people voted against it. But retention's only one issue. We need to know those individuals who are running for judge at the trial court and appellate court levels. We have two separate appellate courts here in Pennsylvania, the Superior Court and the Commonwealth Court. We cannot afford not to know who is running for those spots. We cannot afford not to go out and vote. You must allow your voice to be heard. That is what our republic strives upon. We all could have found 5 more minutes in our day or in our week to go out and talk with our neighbors and friends about those individuals who are running for political office and what their positions are. I too could have found 5 more minutes. It's on every one of us to do our civic duty. And that's what I want to implore you to do today. The elections are coming up. And the elections come up frequently. We can't afford not to know. Now, this has been a long process that's occurred in a very short amount of time. A lot of people have posted, do you know that you took the case from the trial court up to the Supreme Court in less than 24 hours? Yes, I'm aware of that.
Yeah!
These are our fundamental rights. These are inalienable rights.
Right.
Rights that no governmental agency or entity has the right to deprive us of. They were given to us by a higher power. That's what the forefathers intended. Those who espouse beliefs that the Constitution is a living, breathing document cannot answer the one most important question. If the Constitution is a living, breathing document, why did our forefathers provide for an amendment process? It would make no sense. You would never need to amend.
Never thought of that.
It would simply evolve. But that's not what they want to hear. That's not what they know, because it would go against their purpose and what their desires are. We, the people, have the power to amend the Constitution. Now, I would even go so far as to say even we, the people, can't necessarily do away with our Second Amendment rights because it's an inalienable right. It's given by a higher power. While one person may be able to say, I'm going to give up my own rights even though the divine has given it to me, no one else should be affected by this. And that's what's important today. We must remember this, and anyone who says that the Constitution evolves, ask them that simple question. I have yet to have anyone able to explain why we have an amendment process in that context. Now, it's a beautiful day. It's a little bit warm. I don't want to bore you guys with all this legal mumbo-jumbo and talk. I'm glad to be here. I'm unfortunately going to have to leave around 2, but I'm proud to be here. I'm happy to see all these patriots out in the crowd, standing up for our Second Amendment rights, as well as our rights under Article 1, Section 21 of the Pennsylvania Constitution. Let's all just have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua Prince, for being here and representing all of us. All right, I really don't need to introduce the next guy. Well, actually, I probably do, since he's kind of new to this scene. I would like to introduce Bruce from the Bearded Flag guys. Where is Bruce?
Bruce!
Hurry up, run, guys.
Bruce!
All right, it's over. Anyways.
How's everybody doing?
Hi.
Good.
All right. Just gotta bear with me a little bit. You gotta bear with me a little bit. This is my first time. Gotta find my speech. So before I left my house, my 3-year-old wanted me to be safe, so he hooked me up.
Love it.
Many years ago, my great-grandfather wanted to join the Marines, and his father told him no. My great-grandfather joined anyway, argued with his dad, and ended up changing his last name. My grandfather joined the Marines and ended up losing a leg to war injuries in World War II while fighting in Guam. My Uncle Jerry joined the Marines, and he was stationed off Guantanamo during the Cuban Missile Crisis. And my dad served in the Marines in Vietnam, who came home with a bunch of medals on his chest and hearing loss in both ears. I often ask my dad why he never pushed me to join the Marines to keep up the family tradition. His response, he told me it was because one day I'd be fighting a fight for freedom in a war much tougher than any of the battles our family had previously fought.
That's right.
I'm afraid, my fellow patriots, that war is upon us. Dwight Eisenhower, the former general and President of the United States, said that freedom has its life in the hearts and actions and the spirit of men, and it must be daily earned and refreshed. Freedom does not come easily, nor does it come without cost. The cost first shows up at the ballot box, organizing, converting minds, and educating people. But when that doesn't work, then it's the time to protect our rights and freedoms given to us by any means necessary.
So writing down license numbers.
Of the people, for the people, by the people are not meaningless words. They show that 407 years after the founding of this country, our leaders still understood the principles that our founding fathers incorporated into the birth of this great country.
Thank you, Justin. So everyone's aware, the police are now taking down everyone's license plate number that is parked on the streets, even those people who apparently aren't here. So if anyone gets a ticket as a result of them running license plate numbers for which they have no reasonable suspicion that anything occurred or even know who is actually here, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua.
All right, my next speaker, if you don't know, is Chief Mark Kessler. He's also in charge of the CSF down near Bucks County and other areas. I'll let him let you guys know about him. He's very good, so please give him a round of applause. He did travel over about 8 hours away to get here.
Chief! Hoorah!
It's an honor to be here today, everybody. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the Erie Police Department for chasing some vagrants that were hanging out underneath the pavilion earlier, threatening to shoot people in the face. So my hat's off to the Erie Police Department for doing that. They're in a tough spot, just like we're all in a tough spot, just like I'm in a tough spot. I wear a badge just like they wear a badge. Except I stood up and took a bold stance. I'm not an elected official, I'm an appointed official. And I was able to get past my jurisdiction the Second Amendment Preservation Resolution, which nullified every gun law in the country in my jurisdiction. When I sat down with my local elected leaders and reminded them that the oath that they took, I didn't even know if I was going to have a job that day after that conversation. But I'm still here, I still have my job. And it passed unanimously. So in Gilbertson Borough, you have the right to carry anything you want. You don't need a handgun permit or anything. You want a machine gun, guess what? We nullified every gun law in Gilbertson Borough. Period. And the question I've been asking for the past 6 months is, where does it stay in the Constitution, either at the federal level or at the state level, that any government or elected official has the right to regulate firearms? Nobody can answer that. It don't state it anywhere in the Constitution. It shall not be infringed, it shall not be questioned. That's it. That's the bottom line. I never thought I'd see myself on a national stage. 6 months ago, somebody would have said to me, hey, do you see yourself on a national stage doing something for your country? I would have said, no, not at all. Just turned into something, and I just got to keep going for it. I do it because of what my father did in Vietnam, what my grandfather did in World War II, fighting Nazi Germany. And there's nothing special about me. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm an uncle, I'm a son. There's no difference between me or you. I have a badge on my chest, and some of you's do and some of you's don't. And I'm still just a common person. That's it. You gotta keep fighting. Don't ever give up. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Chief. Go on.
That's the guy I'm hoping to be later down the road. A little bit of work to do until I get to that point. But my next speaker, I cannot wait to listen to, and that would be you, Pastor George.
I was like a camera person.
Give it a shot.
If you don't know this guy, he also has a YouTube channel called My Guns, My Religion. You can definitely look at all his videos there.
Thank you for coming, Pastor.
I got involved with this because every time the liberals trot out and do an anti-gun thing, they get some lily-livered, panty-waist preacher show up and tell you that you don't need to defend yourself, that the police will come and protect you. And I said to myself, it's time for the Black Robe Regiment to come alive again in this country. For preachers to stand up and talk about politics and talk about society without fear. Let's face it, I got God on my side.
Yeah! Woo! Amen, brother!
Together, we gather as one voice here in Erie, Pennsylvania. And that is exactly what terrifies the jackbooted thugs and political hacks that think they own this nation and treat its citizens like slaves. However, when patriots speak with one loud, unified voice, it is enough to shake the walls of Congress and to shatter the ivory towers of the White House itself. That unified voice is the one thing that has the power to return our nation to the constitutional republic that was created for, by, and of the people.
Yeah!
In smoke-filled rooms right nearby here and in secret meetings, divisive plans are created and then peddled to an all-too-asleep American populace with words like common sense and it's for the children. With the same kind of twisted logic used by the Nazi propaganda machine, they promote the disarming of honest citizens, leaving them defenseless in the face of an ever more vicious criminal element and a government that cannot be trusted on any level.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? Let's talk first about it, being for the children. To quote Thomas Paine, arms discourage and keep the invader and plunderer in awe and preserve order in the world as well as property. Horrid mischief would ensue were the law-abiding deprived the use of them. And in fact, today, we have far more than horrid mischief to show. And you know what? The answer, and I'm just a simple country preacher from a small town in Pennsylvania, to ensure the safety of our school children is elementary and simple. Let me tell you a story. I go to the gymnasium about 5 days a week, and I noticed a young man there with a short cropped haircut and an Army t-shirt on. So I asked him, "Are you in the Army?" He said, "Yes, I'm in the reserve, sir." I knew he was telling the truth when he called me sir. I said, he says, "I'm in the Army Reserve." I said, "What's your MOS?" He says, "I'm an MP." I said, "That's a policeman, isn't it?" He said, "Yes, sir." "So you are trained to be a policeman?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "What do you do for money when you're not in the reserves?" He says, "I deliver pizzas." We paid for that young man to be trained as a police officer so that he could be home delivering pizzas for $7 an hour instead of paying him $10.50 an hour to go protect our kids in the school system. Have we lost our minds?
Yeah.
Multiply that by the thousands of United States soldiers that are coming home right now, battle-hardened. How about we let them protect our kids? Now, I don't know about you, but if I was a crazed gunman that wanted to break into a school and hurt somebody, I don't think that I would want to take and look in the face of an airborne ranger or a Marine Expeditionary Force member or Navy SEAL that has been battle-hardened in places like Fallujah and Tikrit. But instead, they want to take your gun away instead of taking and doing something that really makes sense. Support our veterans. Give them a job when they come home. Give them a role model for the children to look up to. Instead of people like, who's this guy, Little J or WV, who stomped on the American flag, Little Wayne. No. My friends, you know what? The real reason that the likes of Joe Biden wants to take your guns. I can't believe nobody booed Joe Biden. Is because to him the intoxication of power is nearly as alluring as the whiskey he so liberally partakes of, most likely from a brown paper sack. You know, sometimes I get a bit of flack alluding to the fact that Joe is a bit of a drunk. So I'm going to make a deal with him. When he stops talking like America's embarrassing drunk uncle, I will stop mailing him AA lists to his house. The common sense to them is to disarm the American citizen and to force states to kowtow to an ever-growing and bloated federal monarchy. Recently, the pretender-in-chief, Barack Hussein Abdullah Muhammad Takrit Obama,
wow,
the Grand Sheik of Washington, sent letters to 16 governors in the United States telling them that they would be arrested and tried for treason if they did not disband their state militias. State militias specifically allowed for under the Constitution, or as Obama likes to call it, his personal doormat. To quote George Mason, I ask, sir, what is the militia? It is the whole people, except for a few public officials. The agenda is clear. An unarmed and docile populace that may be ruled at the whim of a dictatorial socialist regime who cares not for the rights of the Second Amendment nor any other right granted to them by God himself. The power grab even extends to small cities like here in Erie, where the town council cannot seem to understand that the state preemption on them passing any gun laws. Now, we find ourselves in a court battle to win back that which is clearly ours in the first place. One has to ask themselves if the local liberal politicians understand the Pennsylvania Constitution when it says the right of the citizens to bear arms in defense of themselves and the state shall not be questioned. And it appears that Mayor Sinnott's private Gestapo force has been questioning quite a few of you today as to whether or not you have a firearm. The current administration has no problem ignoring your rights under the Second Amendment. They have no problem ignoring your rights under the Fourth Amendment. They have no problem ignoring your rights under the First Amendment. And they have no problem ignoring your rights under the Fifth Amendment. In fact, one of their lead mouthpieces, Michael Bloomberg of New York, says that the entire Constitution needs to be rewritten because it seems to be quite a stumbling block to their agenda. Perhaps the wholesale trashing of the Constitution is what President Obama meant when he leaned over and told Vladimir Putin that he would have more latitude to do what he needed to do after the election.
Not today!
Patrick Henry said this: guard with jealous attention the public liberty. Suspect everyone who approaches that jewel. Unfortunately, nothing will preserve it but downright force. Whenever you give up that force, you are ruined. The great object is that every man be armed. Everyone who is able might have a gun. So today, we put the would-be socialist rulers on notice that we have found you out, and we, the people, say no. We say no!
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 We'll fight you in the courthouses! We'll fight you in the ballot boxes, and if need be, and I pray it never comes to this, we will fight you in the streets!
Yes!
We will not go into the night silently like whimpering lambs, loaded onto trains into relocation or re-education camps. My people did that already in the 40s, and we say never again. We're American patriots, and we are a force to be reckoned with. We always have been, and we always will be. Mullen Lave!
Mullen Lave!
I really honestly do not know how to take the mic after that. I have nothing. So I'll probably just stare at you for like 5 minutes until I collect my thoughts. But, you know, I had a nice thing going on when this ordinance was brought up to us. You know, a gentleman brought up to City Council, if you remember, that Philadelphia has strict laws. And that they're first-class city, and also that they feel that they're first-class citizens. I don't know what the ordinance in first-class city means for first-class citizens. Because Philadelphia has those laws, because they have 1 million or more population, we have 101,776. So, no, you don't have to be silent. You're a tiny minority. So there's one of you, and how many of us? Anyways. So, like I said, we are sitting here trying to fight for our freedoms, our rights, because there's people like that that have the making us have problems because they don't understand. So, you know, like I said, I thank you guys for being here, and I know after this that we are going to take a walk up to 12th and State, turn back around and come back down. You're more than welcome to stay and hang out with me, or go wherever you're going. I can't think of who else was the speakers. It was, I do want to introduce somebody very important. He came all the way up here. He had his own case for Title 18, 6120. If you didn't know, he was in a common area at the airport in Pittsburgh. They detained him and took his firearm from him, and he took it to the appellate courts and won. Also, after him hearing my case, he has stepped up tremendously. He donated $2,000 to our fight. So without further ado, I would like to introduce him. His name is David Ross, I'm sorry. I get two different names, so I'll let him speak and let you know about him.
All right, first off, I'd like to thank each and every one of you who've been in the service, and also any public service, because you've done a lot for our community, and you've sustained our right to bear arms, and I thank you.
Yeah!
And second off, you know, I was on vacation from Alaska, coming here to Pennsylvania, to Pittsburgh specifically, because you know what, I love this state, and it's beautiful here, and our rights are fairly established under 6120. And what I don't get is why the city will not reply to me, nor will the solicitor's office, nor will the chief for that matter. And we do have friends in the police department, but their voices are being silenced because of the chief. And once I actually heard about this case when I was working in California. You know, I'm a traveling engineer architect, a software systems engineer, and I was calling around when I was in California. Everyone practically, you know, Senator Alloway, the local senators here, the local representatives here as well, getting them clued into what was happening here in the city. Because quite honestly, it's absolutely disgraceful what has inspired. And the mayor has not spoken up. He's not released anything. He's let his lapdog solicitor speak for him. So, with that, I'd like to return the mic, and just to thank each and one of you who have stood up here, whether you're caring or not, because it's each and every one of you who are going to win this case, and who are going to show the city that we will not falter.
Right.
Okay, guys, well, we're going to play a little bit of music. I'm sure that the media and that want to get some interviews and questions. So you guys can talk amongst yourselves for a minute, and then we'll just start making our walk up to 12th. You do not have to if you don't want to, but if you do, we'll be right with you. So if you want to and you want to talk to me, I'm more than welcome. I'll give you any information so you can find my group. I know that a lot of people don't like Facebook. I'm sorry, but it's just very fast to share, very fast to communicate at this point. I don't have, like, you know, thousands of dollars to make a website right now, so in the near future it will be talked about as our organization grows and we get some leadership behind it, except just myself. So I do appreciate you guys being here. I hope you enjoyed yourselves, and like they say, come and take it.